Only when you're starting.
No.
Andy, are you pulling anything?
What's that? Oh, right.
Are you pulling anything?
Except for Brian's recognition, that's the only thing I'm pulling.
I mean anything off the consent agenda, no?
No. Maybe Cynthia Hodge. I haven't decided yet. Depends on how you treat me.
I think so. We're needing a little space, but
Yeah, I've already went through it. You can take a look and see, but I think we got it all. Good morning. I'd like to call the meeting to order. The April 11th Kankakee County Full Board meeting. Today's invocation is going to be from Board Member Mike Mulcahy.
Lord, we are meeting today to conduct notification. Guide our hearts and our minds in the spirit of fairness, right thought, and truth. Impart your supreme wisdom upon our activities, so that our affairs may be the success of the Savior. Thank you for being our source of guidance today. Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Under public commentary, it says roll call. So we're going to do a roll call. It's really good to have Mr. Tripp back. He keeps me in line. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Tripp.
Present.
Mr. Washington.
Present.
Mr. Legess. Mr. Stauffenberg.
Present.
Mr. Vickery.
Present.
Mr. Olthoff. Mr. Hess.
Present.
Mr. Tholen.
Present.
Ms. Polk.
Present.
Mr. McConnell.
Present.
Mr. Mulcahy.
Present.
Mr. Scott.
Present.
Mr. Snipes. Mr. Byrne.
Present.
Mr. Seroy.
Present.
Mr. Lear.
Present.
Mr. Hildebrand.
Present.
Mr. Reed. Mrs. Weber. Mr. Reinfeldt.
Present.
Mrs. Peters. Mrs. Evans. Mr. Payton.
Present.
Mr. Johnson. Mrs. Parker.
Present.
Ms. Dunbar. Mr. Ritter.
Present.
Mr. Wheeler.
Present. We have a quorum. So under public commentary, I don't have anybody that sent up a slip. Is there anybody that had public commentary today? Seeing none, moving on to communications, we have a proclamation for April 2017 as the Child Abuse Prevention Month. Can we please read that into the record? If not here.
Whereas preventing child abuse and neglect is a community problem that depends on involvement among people throughout the community. And whereas child abuse and neglect often occurs when people find themselves in stressful situations without community resources or support from their community. And whereas the majority of child abuse cases could be prevented with an engaged and supportive community. And whereas we all have a responsibility as individuals, neighbors, community members, and citizens of Kankakee County to assist in helping children become confident and successful adults. And whereas child abuse and neglect can be reduced by making sure each family has the support they need in raising their children in a safe, nurturing environment. And whereas effective child abuse prevention programs succeed because of partnerships created among social service agencies, schools, faith communities, civic organizations, law enforcement agencies, and the business community. Now, therefore, I, Andrew H. Wheeler, by virtue of the authority vested in me as County Board Chairman of Kankakee County, do hereby proclaim April as Child Abuse Prevention Month and call upon citizens, community agencies, faith groups, medical facilities, and businesses to increase their participation in our efforts to support families, thereby preventing child abuse and strengthening the communities in which we live.
Can I get a motion to approve? Mr. Tripp, second. Mr. Siroy, any comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. We also have another proclamation this month in recognition of the Bishop McNamara Fighting Irish basketball team and their performance in the state tournament. So if we could, please read that into the record as well.
Whereas the Kankakee County Board congratulates Bishop McNamara High School basketball team, referred to as the Fighting Irish, for winning third place in the Class 2A Boys Division for IHSA Finals. And whereas the Fighting Irish had an outstanding defensive effort in the second half that sparked the Irish to a 58-53 victory over Monticello High School in the third place game of the Class 2A state tournament on March 11, 2017. And whereas the win gives head coach Adrian Provost and assistant coaches Jerry Krieg, Kendall Andrews, Matt Lambert, and Sean Lade the best season in school history with a record of 25-8. And whereas Bishop McNamara's defense was outstanding all postseason, and the season finale was no different. The Fighting Irish lost the lead only one time in the second half and made enough free throws down the stretch to hold off the Monticello Sages. Coach Provost gave special recognition to their team's hard work and to the seniors for their extra commitment to want to be coached. Whereas McNamara's class of seniors turned in the most successful season in school history and put forth one final tremendous effort before hanging up their Bishop McNamara jerseys. Standout senior Dylan Prost finished with 31 points in the team's double overtime super sectional win over Rockford Christian and scored 15 points against the Sages in the final game of his career. Along with seniors Chris Bell, who led Bishop McNamara with 16 points, Tevin Watson finished with 8 points, while Dante Owens-Graves dominated the defensive end on the floor, along with A.J. Barnes, Arias Andrews, and Nick Barnes. Whereas the Fighting Irish had numerous accomplishments throughout their season that led them to placing third in the state in Class 2A by beating Monticello High School, winning the ONU Thanksgiving Tournament, the Class 2A Beecher Regional, the Class 2A Seneca Sectional, the Northern Illinois University Super Sectional, and advanced to the school's first ever Final Four appearance. Whereas the Kankakee County Board recognizes the outstanding achievement, excellence, tradition, and leadership and congratulates the entire team on their amazing season. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Kankakee County Board that it recognizes Bishop McNamara's Fighting Irish for their outstanding athletic achievement in bringing recognition to the Kankakee County community with pride, sportsmanship, and dignity. And we congratulate them on winning the 2017 IHSA 2A Boys Basketball Third Place Trophy.
I need a motion to approve first. Mr. Payton, second. Mr. Stauffenberg. Is there any comments? All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Same sign, and congratulations to all the student athletes and the coaches and to the entire McNamara family. We're going to have them meet us right up. I'll get to it. If you could, please join us up in the front. Congratulations. Is there anything you'd like to say on the microphone? And anybody else?
Anybody? We just want to say thank you. It's a privilege to be honored by you guys. We are a true representation of the county. We have kids from all over Kankakee County, from Aroma Park, Moment, St. Anne, Bradley, Bourbonnais, Kankakee. And when we play in the state tournament, we're always referred to as Kankakee, Bishop McNamara. So we know that we're representing this community, and these young men did an excellent job of that this year. And we appreciate your support, and thank you for honoring us today.
Thank you all. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. Moving on. Have no presentations. We'll get to the vacancies and appointments in a moment. Certificates of recognition. I was asked to skip over the first one by a very humble gentleman, but I will say I will thank Brian for the years of service and what he does for us on a daily basis in this county. Brian Gadboy, thank you. Stephanie Beard, celebrating 15 years in the circuit clerk's office. Not here. Marla Coxey, 20 years at the circuit courts. Not here. And Lynn Anderson, 30 years at the circuit clerk's office. Thank you all for your service. Just a moment. Mr. McConnell.
I'd like to convey our condolences to Mr. Gadbois on the loss of his mother. And she passed away Monday night, or early Monday morning, to him and his family, and need to keep him, his family, and he in our prayers.
Well said. Thank you. Moving on, the minutes of the last meeting for March 14th, 2017. I need a motion to approve the minutes. Ms. Parker, second. Mr. Byrne, all those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. The Claims Committee report. I need a motion to approve all claims. Ms. Dunbar, a second. Mr. Johnson, if we could read those into the record, please.
Mr. Chairman and members of the County Board. Your Committee on County Claims would beg leave to report that they have examined the following claims and presented and recommend payment. The clerk is hereby authorized and directed to issue orders to the several claimants payable out of the funds as follows. The Highway Fund, $318,823.04. All other funds, $433,031.57. Total for the month of February 2017, $751,854.61. From the General Fund, $699,758.84. All other funds, $3,149,663.09. For a total for the month of February 2017, $3,849,421.93.
So we had a motion and a second. We need a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Tripp.
Aye.
Mr. Washington.
Aye.
Mr. Legess. Mr. Stauffenberg.
Aye.
Mr. Vickery.
Aye.
Mr. Hess.
Aye.
Mr. Tholen. Ms. Polk.
Aye.
Mr. McConnell.
Aye.
Mr. Mulcahy.
Aye.
Mr. Scott.
Aye.
Mr. Snipes.
Aye.
Mr. Byrne.
Aye.
Mr. Seroy.
Aye.
Mr. Hildebrand.
Aye.
Mr. Lear.
Aye.
Ms. Weber.
Aye.
Mr. Einfeld.
Aye.
Mrs. Peters.
Aye.
Mrs. Evans. Mr. Payton. Mr. Johnson. Mrs. Parker.
Aye.
Ms. Dunbar.
Aye.
Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
Mr. Wheeler.
Aye, motion carries. In the department reports, need a motion to combine and accept the reports. Mr. Washington, second. Mr. Tholen, if we could read those into the record, please.
The County Collector's Monthly Report for February 28th, 2017. Total cash and investments, $1,338,615.01. The County Treasurer's Monthly Report, February 28, 2017. Total checking accounts and cash, negative $1,040,749.14 in the general fund, negative $5,076,476.54. County Coroner's Report for February 2017. Total calls 124, coroner's cases 21, autopsies 15, toxicology 16, outside autopsies 2, 0 donations, 0 indigents, 4 x-rays, 44 cremations, and 2 incomplete. Total income for February 2017 from the coroner, $2,312. Circuit Clerk Cash Book, total disbursed February 2017, $395,046.96. February 2017 Kankakee County Recorder Monthly Report for February 2017. Disbursement fees paid to the county treasurer, $79,074.37. Kankakee County Clerk Report for February 2017. Total of $36,104.21. Animal Control Report for February 2017. Total fees, $22,295. The IPTIP Building Fund, $72.76. Total animals handled, 78. The Kankakee County Monthly Building Division Report for February 2017. Total permits issued, 35. And fees of $6,884. Total extra fees of $4,534 for a total of $11,418. Monthly resolution list for 2017, March 2017, total of the county, $28,425.72. The monthly resolution list for April 2017, total to the county, $1,900.78. And the Regional Superintendent of Schools report is on file.
It's on file, available for viewing. So we have a motion and a second. That is a voice vote. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to the consent agenda. Is there anything anybody would like to have removed from the consent agenda? Mr. Washington.
Resolution 2017-04-1122.
Which one is that? Let's see.
Dr. Don Davey. Just a question.
Third one down.
Is
Yep, got it.
is that Mr. Dr. Don Dakey or Mrs. Dr. Don Dakey?
Mr.
Well, it says her.
Oh, on the actual resolution itself?
Fourth paragraph down, her oath with the county clerk.
I'm pretty sure his kids, I'm pretty sure that, yeah, he's a guy.
I know. I know him.
There's evidence of that, I'm sure. But yeah, we'll get that corrected, Mr. Washington.
Okay.
Thank you. So we're not going to remove it. We'll
No,
just
you don't have to.
correct the Scrivener's error. Okay. Thanks for catching that, though. So we're going to leave that on there. Was anything else that need to be addressed? I almost said undressed. Sorry. Anything else? All right. Then we will need a motion to combine and accept.
So moved.
Mr. Vickery, a second. Mr. Mulcahy, can we read those into the record, please?
The appointment of Beth A. Walther to the Limestone Fire Protection District Board. The appointment of Andy Palisard as trustee to the Blooms Grove Cemetery Association. The appointment of Dr. Don Dakey to the Ethics Commission. The appointment of Cynthia Hodge to the Ethics Commission. The appointment of Toby Susan Olszewski to the Ethics Commission. The appointment of Kyle Kratzer as a member to the Kankakee Valley Airport Authority. The reappointment of William H. Bukowski to the Kankakee County Regional Planning Commission. Reappointment of Ralph Parlberg to the Kankakee County Regional Planning Commission. The reappointment of David D. Young to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Reappointment of William Hem to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Reappointment of Edwin W. Mentz to the Zoning Board of Appeals. The declaration and disposal of excess surplus for the Jerome Combs Detention Center. The resolution authorizing the county board chairman to sign an agreement with the Illinois Department of Transportation, State of Illinois, regarding administration of maintenance and construction work approved by the Illinois Department of Transportation. Declaration of highway department equipment as surplus property. Adoption of increases to animal control fees based on the Bellwether LLC fee study. Adoption of an animal control ordinance defining shelter and bedding. Purchase of service agreement with Show Bus to operate the county's rural general public transportation service, state fiscal year 18.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. Moving on to highways and buildings. I need a motion to approve and waive the reading of the resolution. Mr. McConnell, second. Mr. Byrne. Do we have any, we'll just read the actual, the header and what it is. We're not going to read the actual amounts of the bid because it is always lowest bidder. Yeah, just the top part, yeah.
Whereas on March 22, 2017, bids were received and opened, and the Committee on Public Highways and Buildings of the Kankakee County Board met to consider the bid for the public highway improvements now coming under the jurisdiction of the Kankakee County Board. Whereas the said committee determined that the following qualified bidders submitted the low bid as listed below for the work herein described, and did award the bid subject to confirmation of this county board. Whereas the said committee recommends the confirmation of the award on the contract be as follows.
So again, we have a motion to combine and approve, and that will be a roll call vote.
Mr. Tripp.
Aye.
Mr. Washington.
Aye.
Mr. Legess.
Aye.
Mr. Stauffenberg.
Aye.
Mr. Vickery.
Aye.
Mr. Hess.
Aye.
Mr. Tholen. Ms. Polk. Mr. McConnell.
Aye.
Mr. Mulcahy.
Aye.
Mr. Scott.
Aye.
Mr. Byrne.
Aye.
Mr. Seroy.
Aye.
Mr. Lear.
Aye.
Mr. Hildebrand.
Aye.
Mrs. Weber. Mr. Reinfeldt.
Aye.
Mrs. Peters. Mrs. Evans. Mr. Payton.
Aye.
Mr. Johnson. Mrs. Parker. Ms. Dunbar.
Aye.
Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
Mr. Wheeler.
Aye, motion carries. The next item is a resolution appropriating county bridge funds. If we could read. Oh,
Mr.
you came in
Snipes.
light.
Aye. Your fault.
Don't come in late.
There you
Right?
All right, moving on. So if we could, just read the title of that into the record, or the basic part of it into the record, please.
Resolution appropriating county bridge funds to match Pilot Township Road District local funds to construct 2 culverts in Pilot Township. Whereas Pilot Township Road District has identified 2 culvert structures that are in need of replacement on township public highways under their jurisdiction, identified by Section 15-12153-00-BR non-MFT. And whereas Pilot Township Highway Commissioner has petitioned the County of Kankakee for aid in paying for 50% of the cost of the necessary replacement of those structures, according to 605 ILCS 5/5-502. And whereas the estimated cost of $140,000 exceeds 0.02% of the value of all the taxable property in the road district as equalized or assessed by the Department of Revenue, and the tax rate for road purposes in the road district was in each year for the last 2 years passed not less than the maximum allowable rate provided for in Section 605 ILCS 5/6-501. And whereas at the Highway and Buildings Committee of the County Board of Kankakee County on March 22nd, 2017, did discuss and recommend approval of the petition and appropriation of the county bridge funds for the replacement of the culvert structures. Therefore, be it resolved that the County of Kankakee approves the petition and will use $70,000 of county bridge funds for the purposes of paying 50% of the cost of construction being matched by Pilot Township Road District local funds.
Can I get a motion to approve? Ms. Peters, second. Ms. Evans, this is a roll call vote.
You don't exist.
Mr. Tripp.
Aye.
Mr. Washington.
Aye.
Mr. Legess.
Aye.
Mr. Stauffenberg.
Aye.
Mr. Vickery.
Aye.
Mr. Hess.
Aye.
Mr. Tholen. Ms. Polk. Mr. McConnell.
Aye.
Mr. Mulcahy.
Aye.
Mr. Scott.
Aye.
Mr. Snipes. Mr. Byrne.
Aye.
Mr. Seroy.
Aye.
Mr. Lear.
Aye.
Mr. Hildebrand.
Aye.
Mrs. Weber.
Aye.
Mr. Reinfeldt.
Aye.
Mrs. Peters.
Aye.
Mrs. Evans. Mr. Payton.
Aye.
Mr. Johnson. Mrs. Parker.
Aye.
Ms. Dunbar.
Aye.
Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
Mr. Wheeler.
Aye, motion carries. Moving on to PZA. We have a resolution authorizing execution amendment of section 5311 grant agreement. Need a motion to waive the reading and approve. Mr. Hess, second. Mr. Johnson? We could just, I just read the title into. Is there any discussion on this? Does anybody have any questions?
Try standing up.
Any questions on this resolution? I believe Jeff's here. Yeah. It's basically, it's something we do every year just to reauthorize all of our grants that we use for rural transportation. So with no questions, that is a roll call vote.
Mr. Tripp.
Aye.
Mr. Washington.
Aye.
Mr. Lejes. Mr. Stauffenberg.
Aye.
Mr. Vickery.
Aye.
Mr. Hess.
Aye.
Mr. Tholen.
Aye.
Ms. Pope.
Aye.
Mr. McConnell.
Aye.
Mr. Mulcahy. Mr. Scott.
Aye.
Mr. Snipes.
Aye.
Mr. Byrne.
Aye.
Mr. Seroy.
Aye.
Mr. Lear.
Aye.
Mr. Hildebrand.
Aye.
Mrs. Weber.
Aye.
Mr. Reinfeldt.
Aye.
Mrs. Peters.
Aye.
Mrs. Evans. Mr. Payton.
Aye.
Mr. Johnson. Ms. Parker.
Aye.
Ms. Dunbar.
Aye.
Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
Mr. Wheeler.
Aye, motion carries. Also a resolution authorizing execution of the Downstate Operating Assistance Grant Agreement. Again, basically something we reauthorize every year in our agreement with Showbus to operate our rural transit. So I need a motion to approve. Mr. Vickery, second, Mr. Hess. That is also a roll call vote, please. And is there any questions? Apologize. Roll call vote.
Mr. Tripp.
Aye.
Mr. Washington.
Aye.
Mr. Lejes.
Aye.
Mr. Stauffenberg.
Aye.
Mr. Vickery.
Aye.
Mr. Hess.
Aye.
Mr. Tholen.
Aye.
Mrs. Pope.
Aye.
Mr. McConnell.
Aye.
Mr. Mulcahy.
Aye.
Mr. Scott.
Aye.
Mr. Snipes.
Aye.
Mr. Byrne.
Aye.
Mr. Seroy.
Aye.
Mr. Lear.
Aye.
Mr. Hildebrand.
Aye.
Mrs. Weber.
Aye.
Mr. Reinfeldt.
Aye.
Mrs. Peters.
Aye.
Mrs. Evans. Mr. Payton.
Aye.
Mr. Johnson. Mrs. Parker.
Aye.
Ms. Dunbar.
Aye.
Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
Mr. Wheeler.
Aye, motion carries. Moving on to finance. We have the property tax abatement for the tax year 2016 payable 2017 to be abated in its entirety. That has to do with the Kankakee County Health Department bonds. So first I'll get a motion to approve. Mr. Lejes, second, Mr. Johnson. And if we could, let's read that one into the record, please. It's a short one.
Regarding property tax abatement for tax year 2016 payable 2017 to be abated in its entirety. Whereas the Finance Committee, after review, discussion, and consideration, advised at its regularly scheduled meeting of March 29, 2017, that the tax abatement for tax year 2016 that would be paid in 2017 should be abated. And whereas the Finance Committee, at its regularly scheduled meeting of March 29, 2017, has advised that the debt service payments for the below bond issue are to be abated in their entirety from the Kankakee County tax levy for the tax year 2016 payable 2017. And whereas the recommendation for bonds issued for the Kankakee County Health Department, Series 2007 General Obligation Bonds, issued on January 1st, 2002, for acquiring and relocating the Health Department, was recommended to be abated in its entirety for tax year 2016 payable 2017. And now, therefore, be it resolved by the Kankakee County Board, after review, discussion, and consideration, the above recommendations of the Finance Committee are accepted, approved, and adopted. And the debt service payments for Series 2007 General Obligation Bond, Kankakee County Health Department, are to be abated in their entirety from the Kankakee County tax levy for tax year 2016 payable 2017.
So we have a motion and a second. Is there any questions? Seeing none, yeah, Ms. Peters?
Okay, so the health department asked to abate this because they had the money in their budget.
Correct, and there's
Okay.
also grants that are tied to that, so if they get abated, it gets abated, then doesn't,
They get
excuse
the
me,
grant.
doesn't, they lose the grants too. So,
Okay.
and it's a relatively small amount of money that
Okay.
we only have, I think, about a 12% stake in as the county. It's
Okay.
88% theirs.
So some of the other things that we could levy, we did not abate, that they do go on the
Correct.
tax rolls. So,
Correct.
okay,
Thank you.
want to bring that up?
Any other questions? That has to be a roll call, please.
Mr. Tripp,
Aye.
Mr. Washington,
Aye.
Mr. Legess,
Aye.
Mr. Stauffenberg,
Aye.
Mr. Vickery,
Aye.
Mr. Hess,
Aye.
Mr. Tholen, Mrs. Polk,
Aye.
Mr. McConnell, Mr. Mulcahy,
Aye.
Mr. Scott,
Aye.
Mr. Snipes,
Aye.
Mr. Byrne,
Aye.
Mr. Seroy,
Aye.
Mr. Lear,
Aye.
Mr. Hildebrand,
Aye.
Mrs. Weber, Mr. Reinfeldt,
Aye.
Mrs. Peters, Mrs. Evans, Mr. Payton,
Aye.
Mr. Johnson, Mrs. Parker, Ms. Dunbar,
Aye.
Mr. Ritter,
Aye.
Mr. Wheeler.
Aye, motion carries. Moving on, the amendment and extension to the contract with Country Table to provide prisoner meals at the county detention facilities. If we could, please read this one to the record.
Whereas the County of Kankakee advertised and solicited for proposals from vendors to provide meals to include lunch and dinner to inmates at the Kankakee County Detention Center facilities 7 days a week for a period of 3 years, beginning April 1st, 2013, and through March 31st, 2016, with 5 additional one-year extension options available. And whereas the County of Kankakee had awarded the contract to Country Table by County Resolution 2013-03-12-27, a Scrivener's error was corrected in County Resolution 2015-06-09-73, and the contract was extended in County Resolution 2016-05-10-61. Whereas due to the addition of Immigration, Customs, and Enforcement ICE inmates and ICE food requirements, Country Table has requested an additional 5 cents per meal should the county decide to extend the contract 1 year. The increase will raise the per-day cost per inmate from $3.15 to $3.25. And whereas the county board chairman and sheriff recommend exercising the second of 5 available one-year extensions to the agreement with the Country Table for meal preparation and delivery services at the increased cost of $3.25 for each individual inmate for lunch and dinner meals 7 days a week. And whereas the Finance Committee at their regularly scheduled meeting of March 29, 2017, upon review, discussion, and consideration, recommends the extension of the Country Table contract and the 5 cent per meal per inmate increase in the contract price. And now therefore be it resolved by the Kankakee County Board, after review, discussion, and consideration, that the proposed increase in the contract price is acceptable, and the contract with the Country Table shall be extended for 1 additional year, commencing March 31st, 2017, and shall terminate on March 31st, 2018, and the County Board Chairman is authorized to execute such extension.
I did notice an error, but we'll correct that in just a second. Can I get a motion to approve? Mr. Hess, second. Mr. Vickery? The one thing I think we need to change on here is in the third paragraph where it says ICE inmates, those are detainees. Does that need a motion to amend, or is that just, I think it's a Scrivener's error. We could pass it as the Scrivener's error corrected, because they are not inmates. And then, so I think after the next line where it says has requested an additional 0.05 per meal per inmate or detainee, I think it's appropriate to change the language there in this here. And so if it's okay, I will make those changes to this. So so I do need a motion in a second. I already got that. So at this, I need a roll call, unless there's any questions, please. If there's any questions, let me know. Roll call, please.
Mr. Tripp,
Aye.
Mr. Washington,
Aye.
Mr. Legess, Mr. Stauffenberg,
Aye.
Mr. Vickery,
Aye.
Mr. Hess,
Aye.
Mr. Tholen, Mrs. Polk, Mr. McConnell,
Aye.
Mr. Mulcahy,
Aye.
Mr. Scott,
Aye.
Mr. Snipes,
Aye.
Mr. Byrne,
Aye.
Mr. Seroy,
Aye.
Mr. Lear,
Aye.
Mr. Hildebrand,
Aye.
Mrs. Weber, Mr. Reinfeldt,
Aye.
Mrs. Peters, Mrs. Evans, Mr. Payton,
Aye.
Mr. Johnson, Mrs. Parker, Ms. Dunbar,
Aye.
Mr. Ritter,
Aye.
Mr. Wheeler.
Aye, motion carries. In other business, I have a lot of openings that I'll read real quick, but I do want to mention that if any members of these committees, when they come up for reappointment, whether they're county board members or the actual members of the committee, we need people to refill out those applications. Anybody desiring to be on the committees need to refill out the applications. We have put a PDF of the applications on the county's website. They can email us and get one emailed to them from Diane, just a way that we could say and document, yes, these people applied for reappointment. We just don't want it to go in perpetuity without having hearing from people or people that are desiring to be on committees. So with that being said, the openings I will announce today, and again, they're published in the newspaper to reach out to the community, and we're going to start putting them on the Facebook page as well so people can see those opportunities to serve. One opening on the Kankakee County Board of Health, 2 openings on the Kankakee County Board of Review, 1 opening on the Kankakee County Convention and Visitors Bureau. I believe that's the board appointment. The Kankakee County Board appointment, I believe we looked into that, so let me write that down. 1 opening on the Kankakee County Farmland Assessment Review Committee, 1 opening on the Kankakee River Valley Forest Preserve District Board, 1 opening on the Bourbonnais Fire Protection District, 1 opening on the Cabry Area Fire Protection District, 1 opening on the Essex Township Fire Protection District, 1 opening on the Grant Park Fire Protection District, 1 opening on the Greater Moments Fire Protection District, 1 opening on the Kankakee Township Fire Protection District, an opening on the Mantino Community Fire Protection District, 1 opening on the Otto Township Fire Protection District, 1 opening on the Pilot Township Fire Protection District. I think it's Fire Protection District Month. 1 opening on the St. Anne Fire Protection District, 9 openings on the Kankakee County Regional Planning Commission, 1 opening on the Kankakee County Zoning Board of Appeals, 2 openings on the Kankakee County Historic Preservation Committee or Commission, and I believe that's the last one I have here. So again, some of these may sound familiar. We're re-announcing those month to month if we don't get applications in to fill those positions. So in the case of the Kankakee County Regional Planning Commission, if we have 2 people finally send in applications, then we'll announce those the next month, and then it will go to 7. So we're going to keep going with this, and it may seem redundant, but we're trying to drill this home that we need active people in these commissions. Mr. Lias.
I think when you were reading them off, you missed the 1 opening on the Kankakee County Housing Authority.
I did. Okay. We have 1 opening on the Kankakee County Housing Authority, which is very important, I should mention. So, Mr. Snipes, do you have anything?
Yeah, my question was, I thought is this another position or is it the same one from last month that?
It has to be announced at the full board and then it has to go to executive.
Right,
So
it was announced I'm talking about for the Housing Authority because we put in further positions, so I'm wondering, are we waiting for someone else or?
no, we're not waiting for anybody else. The process is that it has to be announced and then the application has to be received by a certain date so it can go to executive committee. And so it hasn't gone to executive yet because we have to let the executive committee see the applications. So next month, the application will go to executive committee. Well, this month, if you will, at the end of the month.
I was just making sure we have to put in another application. Okay.
No, same one. It's just a matter of we have to stick with that. And if it falls outside of that schedule, then I'll just re-announce it now, even though we talked about it before. Executive has to see it, then it comes to full board. All right. So I guess moving on, is there any old business that we need to cover? Any new business? Mr. McConnell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One of our members
Speaking to the mic, please. Microphone.
has a very significant day coming up very soon. These are one of our senior members, and Mr. and Mrs. Washington has their 50th wedding anniversary coming up on April 29th. So congratulations to Mr. and Mrs. Washington. Professional.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
No speech?
No speech. Tolerance, perseverance.
Mr. Snipes.
50 years. Has it been that long?
Yeah, it's been that long.
Wow, I tell you. I just wanted to, and I know this microphone is off, so I'm sure your other things pick up. But I want to say that with this public safety tax, though it came close, there were some conversations in the city that came my way, and I had to do a lot of explaining. And again, they voted kind of in favor of it, but there was a lot that thought confused the Kankakee County public safety tax with the already city public safety tax. And so they felt that they had already given to the city, so why are they giving again? And they were confused between the Kankakee County and the Kankakee City. Then they just said, why don't you all put it on, on a garbage fee? I had to explain to them that we can't do, the city is home rule. So they can they can make their own taxes, they can do what they have to do. The county is restricted. We do have to go to you all. And most of them got it, but a lot had that question out there or whatever because they were confused as to the dual, because we say the Kankakee, and they didn't say city or county, but Kankakee public safety tax tends to, I know at some point we have to differentiate that we are the county versus the city, because we say Kankakee public safety tax, and I'm sure we said it, but in their minds it was Kankakee public safety. And I think that the rural areas need to, I don't know if they didn't get the Daily Journal or what was the case, but I do see that it came a lot closer than in the past. And I'm thinking that with a little bit of more education, I think afterwards, and I wish the publicity through the papers and stuff happened a lot before, because there's more conversations going on after, and a lot of people are saying, oh, I didn't know that's what it was for. I think just a little bit more education and kind of reintroducing that, you might get a little bit different result, given that, there was some discrepancy. Even though it passed in our rural areas, they kind of saw, in the city areas, they kind of saw the need to go ahead and help the other individuals out. For some reason or another, I don't know, by delay, did the dog get the paper or what, they didn't get it out there.
Yeah, I appreciate the comment. I don't know what more this board can do to draw that distinction between the city, which this was upside down. This was, the municipality supported it more than I would have ever thought they would have, and the rural areas who depend on the police protection resoundingly said no. And I still have no idea why that would be. In Pembroke 1 and 2 and in rural St. Anne, it was 3 to 4 to 1 against the areas that are absolutely needing it the most. Essex, rural Essex, I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. And and it just keeps coming back to, some of what you say is highly accurate. People confuse the city and the county. I already pay it on my sewer bill, or I already pay it with my vehicle sticker. But we actually did very well in the city, better than we thought we would. I would say north of Court Street, it was not good. It was the very one of the areas that we were 3 and 4 and 5 to 1, if you will, against. But some of most of the other communities in Kankakee and Bourbonnais and Bradley, we had a fair shake. People saw the need. How we interrelate with the municipalities. The real disappointing thing is the rural communities resoundingly said no, and they're the ones who would potentially feel it first. They're already having break-ins, they're already having shootings, they're already having all of the issues. I got to be honest, folks. I don't know if we come back with this as a board. We have to talk about it as we go forward. I think the public needs to come back with it if they really want it. And I'm not saying that because I'm trying to blame anybody, but we're doing things the right way, I think, as a board. You guys are, and we as a team are trying to turn things around and doing things pretty well with the limited resources we have. And I don't know, I'm not going to sit up here and cry about it, but we have some things to work on. And I guess it leaves me an opportunity to say that one of the things we're doing in response to this is I'm not going to let the newspaper dictate this board or this county's policy with their headlines. I can tell you that. What we're going to do is we're going to sit down. We're going to have our quarterly report at finance this month. We're going to take a look at the first quarter of the year, and I can tell you that our expenses to revenues ratio is the best it's been since, I believe, 2012. Probably better than it was before the market fell in 2009. So we're running leaner. We're maximizing the revenues that we do get, even though we don't have property tax coming in. I think you will be pleasantly surprised on the efficiency that we're running with. A lot of it has to do with the 80% of the cost and the revenue go through our public safety side of things, and they're doing a bang-up job. You'll see some of that tomorrow. We're going to do that this month. Next month, we're going to come in with a semi-annual financial estimate so we can take a look at the way this year's looking and the rest of the year. And then the following month, June's finance committee, we intend to come in with a 2017 budget amendment recommendations, along with a 18, 19, and 20 budget estimate. Because if we are going to address when the banks walk away from us, we have no access to cash in 2020, only $1 million in 2019. We have to start there and work back so we're ready for it. We can't make changes 2 months before we need to make changes, or if we think that, you know, we're going to be able to phase into this a little bit better, we want to come to you educated and have you become educated and know exactly what's going on with the finances of this county. So we've talked a lot about this in my discussions with our finance director, key finance committee members. The auditor has been part of the discussion, just trying to line up everything to make sure we come back and do this in a methodical manner rather than rely on headlines to try to dictate what we do. So is there any questions along that line? We'll have more in finance. You'll see more tomorrow in our criminal justice situation. So, Ms. Peters.
Yes, I heard a lot of good things just now, but I didn't hear anything about addressing paying down our debts. So are we going to have some details on that too? That should be included in all the plans.
That has to be access to cash. It's part and parcel with paying down debt.
Exactly.
You know, there is no way for us to be able to access outside banks who will support us with the loans necessary to get through that time of the year when we don't have property tax coming in. Because just so you know, that's the only thing that a surplus does within a county government or any government. It allows you to operate while there's no revenue coming in. It's not like it's just free money sitting there that you can just go out and spend. It's used for that gap. And then you get taxes in typically in July, and then that's where you recoup. Well, guess what? We're not recouping, we're surviving on those loans. Every dollar we spend is borrowed. The key is that we have less borrowed money going forward, to your point. So, did you have?
Yeah, I just want to say, I know that the chairman and the auditor are working long days and every single weekend to come up with those solutions. But if you have ideas on that, they'd be very welcome. Because I know historically the ideas have flown this way, and they need to start coming this way, from the board to the chairman to the auditor to the department heads. So if you have an idea on that, we'd love to hear it.
And that's part of the way that we intend to use finance committee going forward. We're going to bring those numbers and those facts and those figures and say, these are our options. What do we want to do? You know, because if you look at it, if you think about it, we're roughly, if you look at everything combined, including highway department, we're $15 million in the hole, not just the 4.5 on a negative fund balance. So if you pay back $500,000 a year, which is kind of where we're at right now, that's generational. That's and that doesn't count for any cost increases in anything, any labor, any utilities, anything. So we have some decisions to make with what we're doing right now, and those are far-reaching. Because I know that's not the legacy I want to leave. I don't think anybody here wants to leave a 30-year debt to be paid off. That's not why we're here. So, any other questions, I guess, and we'll move forward. Any other new business? Well, that, Mr. Legess.
Well, is this on, or are we on back here?
Oh, you're on. I can hear you.
I am on?
Yep.
The thing that bothers me the most about the quarter cent being turned down is the fact that all of the townships came to us when the, I don't know the acronym, the railroad, the LG, whatever it was, LGBT or whatever it was.
That's a different railroad. Yeah.
No, I don't mean that one.
I understand. I understand.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
The thing that
Great Lakes Basin. Great Lakes Basin
yeah,
Railroad.
The Basin
yeah.
Railroad. The thing that bothers me is the townships voted against it. They came to us. We had a resolution opposing it, And then when we asked them for the quarter-cent, 15 out of 17 townships voted it down, correct?
I believe that's a number.
That
Yeah.
They stabbed us in the back, and that bothers me a lot.
Yeah.
And I, for one, am not going to listen to anybody out there that complains about coverage
Yeah.
from this point on.
Well,
To me, they're on their own.
that organization, I believe, actually did encourage their members to support this via an email that went out. But I understand what you're saying. The opponents to the refuge out there, we're standing by the rural citizens in a lot of different areas, and frankly, we supported through when we were losing tax revenue all of those years, whether it was through the sales tax situation or we had other revenues that declined. We made a commitment as a board in 13 and 14 to keep those levels of patrol and as high as we possibly could, because that's, and in spite of the people that voted, and I'm sure that Sheriff would echo this, in spite of the people that voted against this, we're still going to do our best to follow through on that commitment, to do the best we can. But we'll know more about the numbers later. This isn't a knee-jerk reaction. This is very methodical, and I hope that as many people that want to be part of this come to finance, help pull on the end of the rope. We need you. So, Mr. Payton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the taxes, I can say this about Pembroke 1 and 2. The mayor, myself, we tried to promote it. But I think we have to go back to what Mr. Snipes, the statement he made. They just didn't understand it. I guess we didn't have enough of time to get the message out there, but the majority of the individuals who voted against it, they just saw it as another tax, but they didn't understand the implication of it, how it would benefit them. That's all I got to say.
Sure. Thank you. Mr. Ritter, hold on just a second here. 6? No, I don't.
Number
actually.
5. Number 5.
I'm gonna write your name on it. Hold on a minute.
Yeah, just perspective from a new board member. I guess I was surprised and actually a little hurt from following the social media after the vote, the hostility toward the board. So I think we still have an image problem, and I guess that bothers me as well, because I know myself and the people that I've worked with, I feel like we're working pretty hard and doing what we can to get this done. So I guess now my thoughts are, how can we reach out to the people of the community and let them know we're trying and we're working on this, and help them to understand the problem? Because I think I had quite a few people come to my office to talk about this, and they were clueless of even what was going on and what it meant. And once I explained it to them, I think the light came on. So I wished I'd had more opportunity to do that. So, just a comment from a newer board member. If you have ideas for me of how I can communicate more with the people in the community, I would love to do that. Or can we as a board find ways to do that? 'Cause I think they just don't understand. But the second part was just the question of what's the next step for the other resolution as far as the opinion on the size of the board. What do we do with that?
Sure. I appreciate that. That was us reaching out to the public to see what number. If everybody talks about reduce the size of the board, even though it's probably the least expensive form of representative government we have in the county. They all think everybody here makes $50,000 a year or something. Yeah, it's just unbelievable. And so when I say it's usually $3,000 a year if you come to every single meeting, $70 a meeting, and if you're not here, you don't get paid. And we made the commitment to end the last of the health insurance subsidies for those few board members who were still getting it. So we were doing those things that everybody wants, and it's still. Get rid of the board, live within your means. Well, living within your means is not as pretty as people would like to see what that is, and so we're going to try to define that. But I just say we keep doing what we're doing, and keep talking about it. I mean, they can watch the meetings now. This is, it's better than The View. They can live stream it. So, you can watch these meetings and actually see what we're doing rather than relying on someone else's interpretation of what we're doing. To satisfy maybe their own agenda. So that's all I can tell you is keep doing it, keep talking it to the constituents in the community. That's how I try to inform people, but sometimes people, they're against all taxes. They don't realize that pays for the services they get. So, Mr. Snipes.
Yeah, and then in all fairness to
to Pembroke or wherever. I told you that there was a point of differentiation, whereas they thought the agreement took care of everything, and so as a result, they did not know that they thought this was something totally different. And that's what I said, where education has to come in, because they thought that now they're getting police protection because of the agreement. And that's really wasn't the case. We were just, trying to help out in that. So that's what I'm saying. There was some misunderstandings that could not quickly be resolved because there wasn't enough time to reach a whole community.
I will, I guess maybe to close this out, I just want to make sure everybody knows this governmental unit cannot spend one dime to support the publication of or publicization of this, to support this initiative. It has to be, if you believe in it, you got to go out and knock on the door, or go to the library board meeting, or go wherever you can to talk about it. We can't, spend any money whatsoever towards this end. So it has to be grassroots, and that's one of the reasons I work so hard to say, if you support it, call 20 people and have them call 20 people, because that's the way it has to happen. We held public meetings out there 2 years ago in all parts of the county, and I would look around and it would be me and probably Mr. Seroy was there, and I think Mr. Byrne would go to a lot of those, the former chairman and maybe a few sheriff's deputies and maybe 3 other people. And that was everywhere around the county. And Pat was there, so and those were being announced and publicized everywhere. So engagement is an issue. And then how do we reach people in an era of social media? There were people that were actually doing that very well. I can't speak I just can't get over the fact that the people that need that support from the sheriff's department so resoundingly said, no, we don't want it, or we don't want to pay for it.
Well, so I think that we have to remember they are paying for it, right? Everyone that pays property taxes in the county has got some skin in that game. So I think they didn't say they don't want to pay for it. I think they said they just didn't want to pay more, and you end at the same place, but they do have skin in the game. They are paying property taxes, and they're entitled to that protection.
As much as we can afford. Mr. Ritter.
Just to reiterate, maybe touch back on this, what is the formal next step on the board size resolution?
Oh, my apologies. We can't change until the next census, until after that. So these are advisory things. So if we do want to shrink the size of the board, whoever is sitting at that point, there's a redistricting committee. Mr. Scott knows about this process. I think, Mr. Washington, were you part of that the last time? Mr. Tholen was too. So that happens right after the census. We all start, that committee gets together and starts looking at the redistricting, and then we would have to make a formal motion at the board level to reduce the size of the board. That's where that comes from. So, and I believe, I think you may correct me, Mr. Rowe, but I think the citizens can also put a referendum out at that point as well about redoing the size of the board as well. So. And again, it's the cheapest thing going. I would actually not try to go to 7 people, because then that actually reduces the size or access you would have towards your representative. I don't think that's a good idea. But if people want a smaller board, we are representative democracy, so we listen to what they say. So, any other questions? Motion to adjourn. Mr. Legess, second. Mr. Mulcahy, all those in favor? Aye. Have a good day.